Hi, this is Savannah,
And this is Brian from the Dorky Diva Show,
and you're listening to Star Wars.
the best place for below average Star Wars.
Welcome to Star Wars, the best place for below average Star Wars.
Hello there, and welcome to the Star Wars Show, the best place for below average Star Wars. This episode is dedicated to the legendary Sir Sean Connery. Thanks for all the amazing films and the body of work you've left behind. We raise a glass, shaken, not stirred. Rest in peace, Sir Sean. I'm the Geordie Jedi Pete, and I'm joined by Canon Junkie XL Ian. Ian, how you doing?
I'm good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm really good, mate. Obviously, it's been a crazy sort of weekend here in the UK where Halloween has come. We're going back into another national lockdown. Obviously, Sir Sean has passed away. Newcastle United did win, though, so we're happy about that.
We are happy about that.
And, of course, the main event of this weekend was, of course, on Friday, October 30th. The Mandalorian was back, Chapter 9, The Marshal, and that's why we're here to talk about it today and get sweaty about it. To start things off, how awesome was it to be able to sit here in the UK and have a time when new Mandalorian was going to be available and to plan around that and get up early, get your snacks, get your drinks ready, sit there, and then as soon as 7 o'clock hit, to hit play on Disney+. I thought that was absolutely fantastic.
It was great, yeah. Obviously, as of last year, we weren't allowed to do that because obviously it wasn't out this time last year, the service. But yeah, it was great. I saw the tweet from Disney Plus UK saying it'll be available at 7 o'clock. I was like, oh great! I thought it'd be about 8:30 because that's when new episodes of the Clone Wars dropped, and that was great. Yeah, I got up first thing Friday morning, and obviously put it on, and was not disappointed.
No, definitely not. I mean, we're going to dive into this episode. We're going to deep dive into it. That's what this episode of the podcast is on. We're going to be reviewing Chapter 9, The Marshal, from Season 2 of The Mandalorian. If you haven't seen the new episode yet, I recommend you pause this episode, go to Disney+, watch the episode, and then come back, because we will be talking spoilers and deep diving into this episode, okay? With that being said, let's sort of dive straight in there with sort of overall thoughts of the episode, Ian. Obviously, I thought it was a delight from start to finish, but just go ahead and tell us what your thoughts were about it.
It was my favourite episode of The Mandalorian ever. Like, first off, absolutely loved it. For certain things we'll get into, it just looked visually, it looked stunning. It for the amount of it basically being a TV show, and it's a Disney Plus series. It's film quality. The score was on point, and it's my favourite episode of The Mandalorian so far.
Yes, I mean, obviously this episode is written and directed by showrunner Jon Favreau. It's the first one is directed. Maybe he saved the best script for himself. Who knows? But it was absolutely awesome. Obviously, it's great to have Jon in the director's seat. Obviously, Jon did not direct any of Season 1. I believe that was because of his juggling the schedules of showrunning Mando and directing Lion King for Disney. But it's great to have him back. He's come here directing the first episode, and he set the tone for this season in an absolutely brilliant way. Like I said, this episode, I agree with you, was absolutely brilliant. And I agree with you, it was my favourite episode of The Mandalorian so far. One of the things I loved was how we sort of, they say Star Wars is poetry, and the sort of reoccurring themes and reoccurring textures going through its stories. And I loved how we sort of started off in the middle of an adventure, this episode. So it was sort of like the Mando and the child walking into a town. Mando has come there to meet someone. He's obviously done some research. We learn that Mando is searching for other Mandalorians to help him in turn search for the Jedi. so he can drop the child off for the Jedi. And he's heard that someone on this planet, which I'm not aware of the planet's name.
No, it never
Are
came
you?
up. No, I've no idea what that planet's called.
So maybe you'll get some tidbits later when Pablo Hidalgo does the book, hopefully, about Mandalorian Season 2. But he's looking for a criminal on this planet called Gor Koresh, who I believe is voiced by John Leguizamo.
Leguizamo, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I butchered that name, I can't speak. But yeah, so obviously quite a big name to get in there to do the voice, which is quite cool. I loved how we started off in an adventure setting, and like the Mando's already sort of got a purpose, and he's already looking for things. Like, we didn't spend too much time resetting up the story. It was a case of, we know where we were last season. The armourer told us to find Jedi, so we're going to go find Jedi, and then the Mando's done some research. Probably had to bang some heads together to get some information about this Gor Koresh. And then he sets off on this planet. He had to find Gor Koresh. I loved just the way the Mando walks into the town. It was very similar to how the Mando walked through the ice town in the first episode of season 1.
Yeah.
Again, like Star Wars supporting, like, I know some people might be like, oh, they've just copied it, but like, I don't think it's a case of copying it. I think it's a case of like, you know, we can like this. The reason why Star Wars is so awesome because it does feel so familiar. And it feels so real, and it feels like something you know. And again, just using simple techniques like this is why it works so well. So he sort of enters this village or town. It's nighttime. I love the use of as he's walking into this town. There's a lot of graffiti on the walls.
Yeah.
Which we don't really see graffiti a lot in Star Wars. Obviously, we do see it quite a lot in Star Wars Rebels. And I haven't had time to analyse the graffiti yet in this episode, but I did spot a bit of graffiti that looked like C-3PO's face.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
So it'll be interesting to get a little freeze frame and analyse all the graffiti, see if there's any like anti-imperial graffiti or anti-rebellion graffiti, or see what kind of graffiti it is on that world. I also love how he walks past, like red eyes flashing up.
Yeah, apparently they're the same creatures from Star Wars Rebels and the Bad Batch.
Awesome. So when I first saw the red lights, like the red eyes come on in the darkness, my first thought was, oh, there's Jawas.
Yeah.
Not the Jawas, but then obviously it becomes apparent that they're not quite Jawas. There's quite a lot of them all sort of huddled up there. And they're obviously scared of the light because they're hiding in the dark and the pathway is lit up by streetlights.
Yeah.
Which you might think is a throwaway piece of information, but it'll obviously come in handy later on. So he sort of goes to this doorway. It's being guarded by Twi'lek.
I think I've seen that guy as well. I'm sure I know that actor. I'm sure I've seen him in something, but...
So I think he has... Let's have a look. I've heard... So that is Isaac C. Singleton Jr. Let's see what he's been in. So he was in Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl.
Yeah, he was. That's where I've seen him. Yeah, I know exactly who it is now, yeah.
There we go. And he's voiced like Soundwave in the Transformers video games. And he's voiced Thanos before in a television series of Avengers Assemble. And in a Guardians of the Galaxy video game as well. So he's done quite a bit of voice acting by the looks of it. And I said worked with the Disney company before, like in Pirates of the Caribbean. Let's see what his last work was. So he was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for 2 episodes. Was his last big thing. So yeah. And he's voiced a lot of video games, a lot of Lord of the Rings video games. He voiced Lurtz, who was a bigger rook guy in some Lord of the Rings video games as well.
All right.
Yeah, and he's voiced Thanos in Marvel's Ultimate Alliance 3 as well, which came out last year. So yeah, that's him. Obviously, he is this Twi'lek, who's like a sort of like a, you know, those like gangster movies or gangster TV shows where like they bang on the door and open the hatch
Yeah.
to look through, and then they get to come in and buy the drugs. It was like that sort of like sinister, shady setup, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, definitely.
I got those vibes straight away, and obviously he's like, Mando was very like, I'm looking for this guy, and then he sort of pauses, then lets him in, tells him to enjoy the fight, and Mando goes in to find Gor Koresh. I loved how like straight away sort of Mando finds himself in this environment where it's like very vibrant, although dirty. We've got two Gamorreans fighting with vibro axes.
Yeah, that was cool to see. I've never seen any of that on screen before.
Yeah, I mean, like, for me, they took something that we know, the Gamorreans, and they look like quite skinny compared to how they normally look.
Yeah.
Or how the ones in Jabba's Palace look anyway. So obviously maybe these ones maybe are slaves or, you know, or being forced to fight type of thing. So maybe they are starved, and they're probably starved because the winner might get more bait.
Yeah.
As a way to get them to fight better, to make more money off these fights. But yeah, so I loved the setup of this town. I loved how it was dark. I loved how it had vandalism. It had these dark creatures. I love how the town obviously embraced the dark creatures by lighting the walkways to stop them from getting people. It feels like quite a lawless town. Like the streets are pretty empty, and then all the action's going on in this illegal fighting ring going on.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then I loved how sort of Mando sits down, he meets Gor Koresh, and they get chatting, and it becomes obvious that Gor Koresh does know about Mandalorians, and that's because he enjoys their armor, he enjoys their Beskar armor, and he likes stealing it.
Yeah, he's definitely set Mando up for a trap, like to try and get his Beskar.
Definitely. I mean, it's one of those things where I wonder how Mando got the information about Gor Koresh. Obviously, it's something we don't know. It's happened in between the seasons. So maybe that might get done in like a comic book or something. But obviously, maybe I wonder if Gor Koresh like set it up. Like maybe Gor Koresh told one of his informants on that planet, "Oh yeah, tell Mando where I am," because I've heard he's got this pretty sick, brand new, fresh Beskar armor, and I'll have that, please. Or wouldn't if it was just a case of Mando's done his homework and Mando's gay crashed it without knowing. We'll only find out in our stories, I suppose.
Yeah.
I loved here how like when they pull the guns on him, and Mando was like not really fazed by it. Obviously, activates the Whispering Birds.
Yeah, Whispering Birds. Yeah.
Activates the Whispering Birds, and then Baby Yoda, or the child, as I should say, notices that straight away. Obviously, these two know each other very well now. They're almost like a tag team. I like to think of them as best friends, a tag team. And the child activates his shell to cover him because he knows Whispering Birds is not good, and he knows that his best friend Mando is going to take care of things.
Yeah,
right
I love
now.
how he's got used to like the Mando's weapons, and he knows, something bad's about to go down.
Yeah, it's like I'm going to hide in here and just let Mando, my best buddy, sort it out. So that was awesome, and we get a bit of a fight. I loved how, like, after this happens, I mean, just setting up Gor Koresh as a character, Gor Koresh, like, kills one of his own fighters.
Does he?
So he stands up and shoots one of the Gamorreans in the head.
He does, yeah.
And then, after Mando, like, uses the Whispering Birds, the Gamorrean that's left, you would think would be angry with Gor Koresh, like, killing his, like, mate, or his same species. But he actually dives out the ring.
That's funny, that.
To fight Mando. It looks awesome when he does it. He goes through the bench. Mando sidesteps him. But I just think Gor Koresh has got these thugs, like, so wound to his will that, like, even here, like, they're helping him. But Mando fights off. I think he fights is that
Yeah, it looks like two Knight brothers from Dathomir.
Yeah, when I saw them, I got vibes of when you find the Knight brothers on the Jedi Fallen Order game.
They look exactly like that, to be fair.
So he sort of takes out them, stabs one in the chest, and then he pulls that knife out, and then he throws it and hits the other one in the chest, which I thought was really. We got to see the Mando really cut loose here. Where in the past when we've seen him fight, he's maybe had his ass kicked a bit, particularly when he's fighting the Blurgs and when he fought the Mudhorn. But like here, we see he's fighting like multiple enemies four at a time, and he takes care of business very, very well, which was great to see. Obviously, I imagine as the season goes on, the Mando will get more of a challenge, and we'll see him struggling more. But I think like to set it up, great to see the Mando taking care of business and wiping the floor with these petty thugs. You then see Gorkaresh trying to sort of sneak out the back door.
Yeah, he wasn't going anywhere any time fast, was he?
No, but he seemed like a very sort of sheepish type of like. Honestly, I don't know what species he is.
No, I don't know. To be fair, I don't know either.
He's a Cyclops, isn't he? He's got like one eye, so maybe we'll find that out as well.
Yeah, I'm sure when the visual dictionary comes out,
definitely
we'll find all this stuff out.
So Mando sort of follows him out, uses the grappling hook to hook his legs. I love how he swings it up over the lamppost.
Yeah, it's very Batman, isn't it?
Very Batman, very like, obviously the Mandos have all this gear, all for specific use, and then get to see the Mando using it for specific reasons, which is great. And obviously tells him, I want to kill you if you don't tell us what you know, what I came for. He says he promised he won't kill us. I'll tell you. Mando says, I promise. I love it how the Mando's obviously already got ideas of what he's going to do. Yeah, he says, I promise you won't die by my hand. Yeah, my hand. And then obviously he tells him that there's a Mandalorian on Tatooine. But like, has that been Tatooine? Don't think there is. And he's like, no, I'm telling you there is. And that's when Mando sort of shoots the light out, which obviously, as we set up before, there's these creatures in the darkness, and then they crawl towards, and almost a horror movie-esque scene where this Gorkaresh is helpless, hanging upside down by a lamppost, and these creatures get him. I love that. I love how it set the Mando up as like, yeah, Mando is sort of the good guy of this story, but he hasn't lost his edge.
Yeah, he definitely,
he came because he tells Gorkaresh in the fight that he was prepared to pay him for the information. Like that wasn't a problem, and then Gorkaresh has broke the deal. And then here he's like, "No, you won't die by my hand. I promise you." And that's because Mando knows he's going to set it up where Gorkaresh is going to die by these creatures. So he's still got that edge. He's still a shady character, so to speak, even though he's like the good guy, the protagonist of the show, which was cool. Good to see. He's got different edges on him. He's a complex character.
Yeah,
which I really enjoyed. What are your favourite parts of like this whole sequence?
I like the whole Gorkaresh hanging upside down, saying, "Oh, Tatooine." He's saying, "Oh, I've been on Tatooine. There is no Mandalorian." I like that whole sequence, and I like obviously Mando shooting the light out at the end and leaving him. Obviously, we don't see anything, but we have a pretty good idea what's about to happen to him.
Yeah. As soon as he shoots that light, I was like, "Oh no!"
Yeah.
But like in a good way, I was like, "Oh no!" Like, "Oh, this is going to be good." And again, they don't need to show you the creatures, but I could imagine those creatures maybe eating the man alive upside down.
Oh, definitely,
yeah. So maybe the next person who comes to town will just see like half a carcass hanging up there on the light. Mando then returns to Tatooine. We see the Razor Crest dock at Mos Eisley. And they're reunited with Peli Motto, who is, of course, the character played by Amy Sedaris.
Yeah.
Great to see her back. Again, it makes sense. Mando's going back to Tatooine when no Mando trusts few people. Mando has a good relationship with Peli Motto, so he would obviously go back and land there with her. I love the back and forth they have about the kid, about the child.
Yeah.
And the droids, the pit droids. Obviously, he's just like, pit droids, go away. He doesn't like you. And the Mando was like, actually, yeah, it needs a once-over, so yeah, the droids can.
Yeah.
And it goes to show that like the events of last season's finale, where IG-11 not only saved the Mandalorian when he took his helmet off and gave him the back straight to the head, but also then self-destructed to let them get away. Hasn't gone. It has affected Mando in a good way, where he's now more open to trusting droids. Not every droid, but obviously these droids work for his friend, so he probably trusts them.
Bit of personal growth.
100%, yeah, which is obviously what we want from our characters. Obviously, pit droids, as we've all seen them in the prequels, they were very much there for comic relief.
They are the pit droids from the Phantom Menace, you know. Yeah,
They
they
are
are.
the ones who go
Yeah,
through the
yeah,
engine.
they are 100%. I saw that online. They are the pit droids from the Phantom Menace. Someone at
Awesome.
Lucasfilm,
Yeah.
I can't remember who, but someone said, "Oh no, they are the pit droids from the Phantom Menace."
Awesome. So you get to see them being a bit clumsy with a pipe that gets stuck on one of the
Yeah.
noses, which is great to see that they haven't changed. I like how fast paced this was. We've gone from like Mando getting this information and getting jumped on to defending himself and getting out of there to then land on this planet. And then straight away he's looking for this Mandalorian armor, which I don't know about you, but as soon as like he was heading to Tatooine, I was like, "This is the Boba Fett armor."
Oh, as soon as I saw the title of the episode, the Marshal, I was like, "It's Cobb Vanth. He's wearing the Boba Fett armor. Here we go."
Yep. We then also get a cameo appearance here from a droid from A New Hope.
RD4, yeah. RD4, yeah.
It's not R5.
Is it R5? I thought it was R4. I'm not quite sure, mate. I'll go with you.
I think it might be R5. I could be wrong, but it's the one that blows the bad motivator.
Yep.
And you can see that he's like the motivator has been pushed back in, but the oil leak's still there. Where it burst when Uncle Owen tried to buy him, which I thought was cool. I'm trying to think now. So obviously, he mentions Paddy Motto. He's come back to get to meet the Mandalorian.
Yeah, he mentions the town of Mos Pelgo, which obviously she brings up the map of Tatooine. She shows him Mos Eisley, Mos Esper from before the war, and then up in another region is Mos Pelgo, which is from the Aftermath trilogy. Mos Pelgo.
It is, yeah. How much do we get about Mos Pelgo in the Aftermath trilogy?
A little bit. It's a town that obviously slaves have formed out in the thing, and there's a whole backstory into it in the Aftermath trilogy with Cobb Vanth and how he becomes the Marshal of Mos Pelgo. It's also called Freetown in the Aftermath trilogy, but obviously that's not brought up in this episode. But yeah, we get a little bit on it. Obviously, there's some things in the book that they didn't mention, but yeah, the Mos Pelgo, yeah, it's an old mining settlement out past the Dune Sea in the Aftermath trilogy.
I like how this adds like a bit more depth to Tatooine. Like,
oh, definitely, yeah.
You know, we know there's not much there. Usually, like moisture farmers mainly, gangsters hide out there. But then obviously, we know that you can mine a little bit on Tatooine as well. So it just adds a bit more depth to Tatooine as a place. 43 years later, we're still getting new stuff about Tatooine, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. This is the best thing ever done on Tatooine in my book.
Yeah. So he sets out for Mos Pelgo. His speeder bike is still there, which is good. So he's riding the same speeder. She's kept it for him. And he rides out Mos Pelgo. Mando arrives there, goes to a bar. He walks through the town first, doesn't he? It's quite like a weird...
It's like the Western thing, yeah. It's basically it's an homage to Westerns this episode anyway, isn't it? The whole thing, but yeah. It's very much set up like an old Western town with the boardwalks and the stuff on the side, and you walk straight through the town, go to the saloon, the bar, obviously. And yeah, it's a big homage to Westerns. But yeah, he obviously arrives at the bar, and that's when we... this is where I freaked out, because I love this character. It was in the Aftermath trilogy. And I can't believe he's been put into live action, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I bet. For anybody who is unaware what we're talking about, it was obviously a series of books in 2015 called the Aftermath trilogy. It was like the first set of books set in the run up to The Force Awakens, which are set after the events of Return of the Jedi. For anybody who's wants more in depth and love this episode and love Cobb Vanth, I really recommend you go and buy Chuck Wendig's series of books, because it'll fill you right in with all the details of what we're talking about here. I'm definitely glad I read them.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I sort of knew Cobb Vanth, knew he had the armour, sort of knew a little bit about his backstory, which was cool. I I liked how like he seems quite like a Cobb Vanth. He has portrayed as quite like a cool character, like quite calm. He's chilled out.
Yeah.
Can be very serious, but he's not like too serious. Obviously, the Mando like challenges him to. Mando wants the armor back. I liked how sort of when he comes in and sits down, Mando's talking to him, and then obviously it's when Cobb takes his helmet off, where the Mando's like, "You're not Mandalorian."
Yeah.
They're gonna have a shootout in the ball over the armor.
The armor.
Like,
The armor.
The arm, yeah, and then like an earthquake happens, and that's when we get in, sort of meet the Krayt dragon.
Yeah. I thought it was a worm at first. I didn't realise, and then obviously they tell you it's a Krayt. It didn't look like a dragon when it first. Yeah, the first Bantha.
Yeah, I mean, I felt sorry for Banthas in this episode.
Oh yeah, many Banthas died in this episode.
Definitely, many Banthas died. They bring us this awesome episode of Disney Plus. So obviously we get the sort of thing that sort of you get to meet Cobb Vanth, and here he's like, you want this armor back because it's your ancestral armor. I've got a problem with this Krayt dragon. Let's help each other.
Yeah.
If you help me kill this beast, I'll give you this armor back. Mando's like, deal, no problem. I don't even have to kill you to take the armor. And obviously, I know that you didn't kill anybody for the armor. I know you bought the armor. Obviously, we get the story from Cobb Vanth about how he was saved by Jawas, and how he bought the armor from the Jawas. So the Jawas have already acquired the armor. It is Boba Fett's armor.
Yeah. I love that shot where he takes the helmet off and puts it on the table. And it closes in on the helmet. You're like, yes.
Yeah, especially the dint.
Yeah,
the laser blast dint in the top of it, which was caused by none other than Cad Bane, I believe.
Allegedly, because we don't know if that deleted scene from the Clone Wars is how they're going to go anymore, to be honest.
I mean, for me, that deleted scene, I mean, just to talk about, there's a deleted scene from the Clone Wars where where Cad Bane and Boba Fett have a shootout, and Boba Fett's helmet gets shot and causes that dint, and then Cad Bane's hat hits the floor and that's got a hole in it. So for me, I've never seen that as Cad Bane being dead. Like, if the hat doesn't, if there's a gap between, you don't know what shape of hat he's. Do you know what I mean? If there's a gap in his head and the top of the hat, it wouldn't have killed him.
No, definitely not. No, I hope he's still alive.
And I think if they wanted to show him dead, they would have showed him dead. Like, they had the chance to show him dead and they choose not to.
Yeah,
they show them both with the same damage, so as if to say they're both going to go on from here. So who knows? But at the minute, I take it as like that is the blast from Cad Bane. So yeah, it zooms on our helmet to show you that this is, you're not eyes on tricking you.
Yeah,
it is the helmet you're on about. I mean, for me, I just love how we get that introduction of the helmet in the Boba Fett armor, but then it doesn't spend too long there, because before you know it goes straight into this Krayt dragon storyline.
Yeah,
where like it could have spent too long on certain bits of nostalgia, but like it didn't. It's like bang, there it is. It's part of this story. Here's why, and then bang, the next part of the story is this Krayt dragon, and we're going to move you there now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I wonder if Boba not Boba. I wonder if Din knows whose armor that is.
I get the impression no.
I think he'd know who Boba Fett is. Like the most. That's the thing. Yeah.
He doesn't even know who Luke Skywalker is, though. He doesn't even know who Jedi are. No offense to Din, but he seems a bit
sheltered.
like very sheltered. Where like he knows where that little cub, he knows where his little coven lived. And used to do bounty jobs and bring the money back underground and get bits made for him. Like, I think, like, do you know what I mean? I think he's very, very sheltered of the galaxy.
Do you just think him being a bounty hunter, you'd have think someone would have said to him, "Hey, you're a Mandalorian. Have you ever seen Boba Fett?" You would have think that, like, maybe he does, and he just didn't want to let on whose armor that is. But
I mean, again, if Boba Fett's not a Mandalorian either, unless they change it again, but like, so I wonder. Obviously, you might want to take that back anyway, but you're not. Like, you shouldn't have that armor.
Maybe, even
though really he probably should, because it was his dad's armor.
And then if his dad's not Mandalorian either.
His dad's not, but like, I don't know. It gets a bit almost like sort of the Native Americans and how like stuff's stolen off them, and then it gets passed down between like the Europeans who in America, do you know what I mean? Then it becomes a European thing where like who knows where Jango got the armor from, but like he did acquire it, and then Boba takes it from his dad.
Yeah.
And at that point, it becomes part of like the Fett family history.
Yeah.
But yeah, sort of. I mean, obviously Timothy Oliphant plays Cobb Vanth.
Yeah.
Sort of just tell us about Cobb Vanth and your thoughts on it and the performance from Timothy.
I've wanted to see Cobb Vanth on screen. I never thought it'd happen. Since I've read the first Aftermath book, I thought he was a great character. It's a great story. And I can't believe he's in live action, to be honest. It feels surreal. And like, if it's like for people like me who read the books and the comics and that, sometimes you get a feeling like they're not really bothered, like when they do the shows about the like extended material. But yeah, for a minor character from a book, from 3 books in 2015, that to make it into live action, it just means all better off now. Literally anyone you think of can turn up now. Like any obscure character that someone really takes a fancy to the books could turn up. If like you make you think now, like if Cobb Vanth can turn up, then people like Ezra Bridger can turn up, people like Thrawn can turn up, like that. Because literally anyone can turn up now. Because if you had said to me when The Mandalorian started that Boba Fett's going to be brought back into the story, but we're going to do the Cobb Vanth thing first, I was like, nah, no way. I thought Boba Fett would have come back and he would have just had his armor and then be like, oh, and then there might have been a comic explaining it after. But no, yeah, to see him brought into live action is I feel like very rewarded for reading the books. It's actually a payoff to something. It's like, oh, that's great. So yeah, I was over the moon when he appeared.
Yeah, I mean, like one of my favorite things when things subtly connect, and I think this was a perfect use of this character. And I have the feeling that this has been planned out since Favreau came on. I'm not saying Favreau knew about this, but I'm saying as soon as Favreau pitched the project and they went, oh, this is where the Boba Fett armor is, he's probably wrote the first season and went, let's get to this point.
Yeah.
And it was perfect, almost perfect execution, I thought. Just getting back to the episode, the guys obviously team up to take care of the Krayt Dragon that's terrorizing Tatooine. They come across Tusken Raiders, who are also being terrorized by the Krayt Dragon.
Yeah.
I love how the Krayt Dragon sort of made the same noise that Kenobi uses.
Yeah, they ripped it straight out of A New Hope, I think.
And that's why they ran away so scared. So again, like continuity is key, and like they made it subtly sublime, slide right in there to keep it all sort of the whole story flowing really well. Obviously, sort of teaming up with the Tuskens. The town folk don't really want to team up with the Tuskens.
No, because they've had a bit of a set too, haven't they? Both sets.
Yeah, and Cobb Vanth doesn't really trust them either. He's like, I've killed loads of them. And then the Tuskens are like, yeah, we know you've killed. We know Mos Pelgo. We know that you've killed her. And the man was like, look, they are raiders, but at the end of the day, like they've lived for so long, and like you guys took their land and stole their water. Like again, it does go back to that sort of
because the Tuskens
sort of Native American idea of it.
Yeah, because the Tuskens and the Jawas, the native species of Tatooine, the Tuskens see anyone who's not a Tusken. Well, I don't know how they feel about Jawas, but anyone who's not a Tusken at least is an intruder on their planet. Obviously, even Din says they've lived in the Dune Seas for thousands of years. So it's very much like the Native Americans and obviously the Europeans coming onto the America all those years ago. And I like this one episode now that it added a bit more depth to the Tusken Raiders. Because before we've just seen them and it's like, oh yeah, they're savages. Obviously we see what they do to Anakin Shmi Skywalker in Attack of the Clones. And you just think, oh yeah, they're just minor savages. But they actually have got a society with like rules and customs and all that. And it humanised them a lot more.
Yeah, I think obviously, for me, obviously the episode in season 1, I've forgotten the title of it now. Is it the Outlaw?
The Gunslinger.
The Gunslinger, sorry, yes, the Gunslinger. Which people said was maybe a bit of like a throwaway episode and had a lot of filler in with the Tuskens and Mando training them. trading with them and communicating with them. But like here we see it pays off straight away because the Mando needs them. And then we actually see where the Tuscans are using the binoculars.
Yeah, from season one.
That Mando actually trade them, so it goes to show Dave Filoni is the king of no filler.
Yeah. Plus we got the tease at the end of episode 5, which is pretty important for the end of this episode.
Yeah, definitely. We're definitely going to go in depth on that. So obviously, I loved how we see I think they're called the Mastiffs, like the dogs from the prequels.
They are,
that the Tusken Raiders have. So again, it was like, I like how we're sort of, and there's been a lot of said about John Favreau and loving the original trilogy.
Oh, there's tons of prequel callbacks in this.
But yep, and obviously Dave Filoni's a big part of the show, and where it makes sense to do it, they've done it. So again, yes, subtly like, of course they would have, if they're going to have their dogs, they're going to have the dogs. So why not use the same dogs from the prequels, which was awesome. So again, like I just love this. That was like a combination of love for like all the Star Wars that had come before it.
Plus,
which I really, really enjoyed.
Plus, Cobb Vanth is riding. I'm sure it's Anakin Skywalker's pod racer engine.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. So so obviously you see them. Mando's on his speeder bike, and Cobb Vanth is riding his speeder, and it's a pod race engine with like a seat attached to the side of it. And the engine's very similar to Anakin Skywalker. So I've actually looked at this, and I don't think it is exactly Anakin's. I don't know what the word would be, like the wings on it, those yellow wings that stick out, or the flaps, whatever you want to call them. I don't know what the technical term would be. They seem a bit thicker,
right?
But like it's definitely like a same style pod racer. Yeah. And I just love that because straight away it was like, oh, they've actually gone there.
Yeah, definitely.
And why not? Why wouldn't someone use one of them engines to make a speeder out of?
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen Tatooine is the land of the used, and like they don't get new things. There's not a new speeder shop on Tatooine. So like, we'll make this into a speeder. It's almost Cobb Vanth's MO. Like, he buys that used armor and uses it. It's not new. He's using this old pod racer as a speeder. I think it's pretty cool.
Definitely, yeah.
So we see the guys sort of teaming up with the Sand People.
It does not go well the first attempt.
No, yeah. Well, I'll let you talk about that, about the Krayt Dragon and what goes on.
Yeah, basically they go to sacrifice a bantha to the Krayt Dragon to make it sleep, and obviously the Krayt Dragon knows what they're doing. So obviously it is intelligent and kills the Tusken instead and leaves the bantha. And I mean, it was pretty funny with the line where he goes, "They might be open to new ideas."
I love it how obviously the Tuskens know where the nesting ground of the Krayt Dragon is, so that's how they end up going.
Apparently, it's in an abandoned Sarlacc pit.
Yes, and they're like, no such thing as Sarlaccs, abandoned Sarlacc pits, I think Cobb Vanth says. And then Mando's like, there is if it's been eaten. So like the Krayt Dragons ate the Sarlacc inside the pit.
So that's obviously the Krayt Dragon's the apex predator on Tatooine.
It is, yeah, and obviously quite mythical. I think it hides quite a bit, but when they turn up outside this cave, I got feelings of like the Hobbit.
Yeah.
When they turn up to Smog's lair and Smog living in the mountain. I've got that type of vibe, which obviously if you know Dave Filoni, who loves Tolkien, I'm not surprised we're getting those vibes.
Definitely.
But so yeah, they get a team together. They manage to lure him out, and essentially they're trying to bury explosives in the ground.
Yeah,
and they're trying to, because they heard that the Krayt Dragon's belly is its weakest, and they're trying to get him to stand over the explosives, and then they'll blow it up.
Which he does, but then obviously that's not enough to kill him. And then when he starts spitting like acid at people, I was like, bloody, that kind of shocked me. I was like, that's really violent.
So I seen that when he did it, I thought he was going to blow fire. And when like the water, the liquid come out, I was like, all right. And I was like, watch it. I was like, is that acid? Yeah. I think it's
something
acid,
like that, something along those lines. Yeah.
I was like, Jesus, I didn't know could do
that. That legitimately did shock me. I was like, that's really violent. Like,
yeah, no, definitely me too. I was like, whoa, but yeah, awesome again. Like we're getting a lot of again this Krayt Dragon that we've been hinted at since 1977, and here we are, 2020. getting like a full explanation on them.
Did you notice when the Crate Dragon came out the cave that the screen size changed?
Yes, there was a few times there with the ratio change.
Yeah, and it changed. It obviously made the Crate Dragon look bigger. I thought that was a cool touch.
Yeah, I think like one of the things like technically, I think like the way they're making this show, and we're going to the Crate Dragon as well. Like they're making this thing. Like I know people say television and the budget and have been like and film being better.
It is a Disney TV show. They're not short of money.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying I believe those things that television's inferior to movies.
Look at Game of Thrones.
Like,
Look at Game of Thrones.
But films do have a bigger budget and more of a prestige to them. Where like with this show, obviously, does have a big budget.
I think that's changing now, though. Stuff like Game of Thrones and that, like.
Oh, definitely. I think you've got Jon Favreau working on this show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Who's like redefining cinema with like the work he's doing on Lion King and Jungle Book,
and also started the MCU.
Yeah. So like, do you know what I mean? I think like as a television show, because it is a television show, I think like they are setting the standards to like in this series and in particular in this episode, like the technical achievements and the way they're telling the story is like. I would love to be able to just watch all of these episodes in a cinema.
Oh yeah,
with a surround sound, because it's made for that. It's made to be seen that way, which I think marks back to George and the way George wanted to do things, where you wanted to make the best product possible to where it could be shown in cinemas and it can fully engross you.
Yeah,
and that's what they're doing. Game with the dragon itself, the Crate Dragon, like ILM. Although ILM are industry leaders, they're the best at what they do in visual effects. And special effects, but like even this dragon, they've outdone themselves. Like when it opened its mouth, all the different sized teeth inside its mouth, not all teeth are the same, they're all different. If you look, like details like that, the way it's in the sand and it vanishes into the sand seamlessly, like it's absolutely beautiful and well crafted. And like I don't want to get too much on it, but like, I think like it is a television show and it has a big budget, but it still has a budget.
Yeah,
and the fact of being able to pull off what they're being able to pull off under the budget they've had, I think is a testament to just how great they are at what they do.
The budget's definitely doubled since season 1, though.
well, I've not seen the figures, but like the way it looks, I would say so.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because obviously season 1 was a lot more contained. Like they wouldn't have been able to pull this off in season 1, I don't think. Then obviously all the money they've made from the Baby Yoda merchandise and all that, they've realised it's the most streamed show last year. It's big business like The Mandalorian now.
Yeah, and you've got to think obviously the volume.
Yeah, the volume. Yeah,
which is the screen stage and setup they've got to make a show. Obviously, they created that for season 1. Obviously, that's already created now, so the cost of that's already been paid. If that makes sense off the season 1 budget. Obviously, you've got the running costs of it still, but the actual like development costs and the setup costs, like you would think, have already been done. So like you've probably
it must save so much money though, like because you don't have to go on location out to Tunisia to do Tatooine. It must save millions of pounds.
It allows you to tell stories, like vast stories, in a lot simpler way.
Yeah,
which obviously means you can do it with less money,
a lot
which
quicker
is
as
great.
well.
Yeah, 100%. So I think obviously, we've got this Crate Dragon. They're trying to get it. Mando's now, the plan's gone out the window, essentially.
Yeah, he's winging it now.
After it starts breathing acid at them. And it starts changing, like, it hides on, like, it goes in the ground, it goes inside the mountains, pops its head back up, it's spitting acid again. It's probably going to kill them all, but it's taking its time. And it's very strategic, the Crate Dragon. It's very clever. The Mando's got to think quick, and that's when he notices that there's still explosives strapped to one bantha. Again, another bantha is going to be sacrificed for the making of this TV show. I love this callback. Mando just has the idea quickly, and he hasn't got time to act, so he like tells
Cobb Vanth
to look after the child. Yeah. He's like, "What, you on about with the child?" And he goes, "Look after the child."
Smacks the jetpack,
smacks the jetpack in the back, just like Han Solo does at the Battle of the Sail Barge in Return of the Jedi. Cobb Vanth was flying in the air, and then the bantha tries to get away, which I felt really bad for the bantha.
I thought it was at first. I was like, "Oh, what's going to happen here?"
And he grabs the rope and he keeps the bantha there, which you could say is a mean thing.
To be fair, he got eaten as well, so
yeah, he goes with the bantha. So he goes, they both get the bantha. Sorry, the Krayt Dragon eats the bantha that is covered with explosives and the Mando.
Yeah.
And we don't know what's going on. And then we see the Mando fly out. He electrocutes it again with that. His rifle has the electrocution prods on it, coming in very handy against big monsters.
Yeah.
Just like it did in season 1. He manages to get out, and then he hits the detonation switch, and the Krayt Dragon blows up.
Dead.
It's dead, and we see the Tuskens getting the meat off of it.
Yeah.
And they also find a pearl.
Yeah, from straight out Knights of the Old Republic.
So yeah, I'm not familiar with this, but I knew you would be. So do you want to just give a lesson on the pearl, please, from Knights of the Old Republic?
There's a mission in Knights of the Old Republic where you have to kill a Krayt Dragon. I can't remember what for. It's been years since I played it, but you have to kill a Krayt Dragon. It's a lot of like that mission in Knights of the Republic is a lot of the line of how they do it in this episode. And a Krayt Dragon has a pearl in its stomach, and that was out straight out of the Knights of the Republic. I don't know what the pearl does. I don't know whether it's just but which is a great. These are the little details when they go. They really are like. There's no reference that's too obscure that might not make it into the show.
Yeah, and it fits perfectly.
Yeah.
For me, when you see the Tusken pick the pearl up, I was like, "Is that another egg?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "What is it with these Tatooine creatures?" I know the ones, the Jawas in the first season aren't on Tatooine, but like the way they go nuts for the egg, and they're like Suga, Suga, and then this Tusken's picking something similar out from inside a creature. I was like, "What is it with these natives of Tatooine?" Yeah. But it's a pearl, so maybe they'll trade that for lots of cool stuff.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I suppose it'll cost. I'm sure it's priceless to be there.
Yeah, or maybe they worship it. Who knows? Yeah, I mean, it does leave that question like, where does the pearl fit into Tusken culture, which would be cool to find out one day.
Yeah.
So we then
that sounds like a detail for the visual dictionary. To be fair.
Yes, which I would love to learn.
I can't wait. I can't wait for that. I don't think it's out till next year though.
I know it's the only thing we've got to wait, but I suppose it gives us something to hang on for.
Yeah.
So yeah, Cobb Vanth comes up. He gives the armor to Mando pretty easily. He's like, "We've done what we were set out to do. My part of the deal. Here you go." Goes to show like he's a sound guy.
Oh yeah, they definitely respect one another.
Yep, definitely. And sort of the part as friends, shake hands. I think Cobb Vanth even says, "I hope I see you again," type of thing.
Yeah.
In the part as friends, which is cool.
I'm pretty sure we're going to see him again. Just that line where he's like, "Oh, by pass cross." I'm pretty sure we'll see him again.
Yeah, well, obviously you get the end of it. So where like Mando loads the armor on his speeder and drives off, and then we see a man watching in the distance.
Yeah.
And the man turns around, and it is Temuera Morrison, who was Jango Fett in the prequels.
Who's now playing Boba Fett.
Now playing Boba Fett, of course. Boba was the clone of Jango, so he would look exactly the same as him.
I saw on IGN, they're like, well, we're pretty sure it's Boba Fett. I'm like, it's Boba Fett. Like, if it was a clone, it's not going to be a clone, is it? It's not going to be... Yeah, it's not going to be like a random clone. Plus, if it was a clone, they'd look a lot older.
I mean, this Boba Fett, the reason why I think it's Boba Fett is, number one, this guy looks like he's been inside a vat of acid, which is what I imagine. Like... It's what I imagine the Sarlacc's belly would do to you. Even though you're covered in armor, it's knocked his face. It's made him bald.
No eyebrows.
Yeah, it doesn't just look bald. He looks like he's been burnt off. Do you know what I mean? Like he's been through a traumatic time. There's a lot of scarring, a lot of tissue there in his face. You can see he hasn't got much with him. He's got a gaffy stick, I believe, and a blaster.
Like a Tusken Raider rifle, yeah.
Yeah, so like, has he been killing them? This sort of thing. Or is he living with a tribe of them? Who knows?
He looks dressed like a bit like a Tusken Raider, which is strange.
Yeah, and for me, like, I think it's Boba for those reasons, because he's come out of the Sarlacc pit, and I think it's Boba because...
it's 100% Boba, yeah, 100%.
He's obviously keeping an eye on that armour.
Yeah.
So, like, the clones wouldn't need to be there to look at the armour, because they don't care, they wouldn't know what that is.
And plus, like...
There's no connection there.
Yeah, like I said, if it was a clone as well, they're like Captain Rex's age, so he'd be a lot older.
Yeah.
They'd be, quite old. But yeah, that's 100% Boba Fett. He's alive. I can't be more happier. I've always wanted him to come back. And seeing Temuera Morrison back is amazing. Because I really like Jango Fett from the prequels. And, I just... Then we have to speculate now about what his intentions may be.
Yeah, I mean, like, for me, it looks like he's been keeping an eye on the whole situation that's been going on this episode.
Yeah.
Which, to me, is strange, because I feel if he knew Cobb Vanth had the armour, why has he not made the move on him sooner?
I think now, at the end of Chapter 5, I 100% think that's Boba Fett now, who walks up to Fennec Shand.
Yeah, so Chapter 5 in Season 1, obviously, Fennec Shand is shot and is dying out or bleeding out. And we said at the end of the episode, we had the boot spurs. So you don't think that's Cobb Vanth who finds out?
Because Cobb Vanth doesn't have a cloak, and at the end of that thing, he's got a cloak. And even when Boba Fett walks off at the end of this episode, you hear the spurs. And because Cobb Vanth's only like it looks. I've gone back and looked at the image, and I think that's 100% now Boba Fett that was looking at Fennec Shand. And I think obviously Fennec Shand said she was meeting someone in Mos Espa. I think she was meeting Boba Fett, and I think he wanted her to help him. Because obviously, it's all well and good him going into Mos Pelgo and trying to kill Cobb Vanth and that, but there's how many villagers and all that are going to be there. It's not the easiest job to do, so I 100% now think that I'm not even convinced she's dead yet. I think it could be revealed next episode if he's in the next episode. I don't know whether that's just going to be a tease. And then, like, they're just going to keep teasing him at the end of episodes. But I think that she could be working with him. And that maybe they were going to go and take out Cobb Vanth to get the armour back. And now, obviously, Mando's got the armour. So I could see them tracking. I still think Fennec Shand's alive. It might be fleeting. I know a lot of people think she's dead. But if it is Boba Fett, number one, how did he know where she was? And now that you look back at it, it said she was meeting her contact in Mos Espa, and then I think it's 100%. Yeah, it was Boba Fett at the end of the thing, and I think that maybe it might be revealed that she's alive, working with him. Because if it was Cobb Vanth, you think we would have seen her if she was alive, or something would have been said.
Agreed. Yeah. So I think now you've laid it out the way you just have there. I think Boba Fett's the one who found Fennec Shand. I think she could be alive as well.
Yeah, I just don't see how you'd get an actress who's as good as Ming-Na Wen just for a throwaway like thing. I love Ming-Na Wen. I think she's tremendous, and I could just see her working with him still.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think we're going to get Ming-Na Wen in this season. Whether it's a case of she's alive and you see her working with Boba Fett, or whether you see she's alive when Boba finds her, and we see a flashback to her telling Boba all the information she knows about the child and the bounty and how the Mando shot up the guild and ran away from what's the planet called again? Navarro. Sorry, yes. So I think whether it's a flashback to that, or whether we see her alive in the flesh, I think we're definitely going to see Ming-Na Wen back as the character.
Yeah, 100%. Because
as Fennec Shand.
Obviously she's worked for the Hutts, Black Sun, and all that. She's the top assassin, bounty hunter. I have to believe that her and Boba Fett have crossed paths in the past. Obviously, Boba Fett used to have a gang in the times of the Clone Wars called Crate's Claw. That was him, Aura Singh, Embo, Bosk, and all that. Whether he was getting a team of bounty hunters together to try and get his armor back, we have to think. I'm not sure, but I definitely think, that's 100%. I think that's 100% him at the end of Chapter 5. Because, like I said, he's got the big long black cloak on in the end of this episode, and Cobb Vanth doesn't have that. Like, he's just got like normal trousers on. Yeah. So I 100%, and I could not be more happy. Like, he's one of my favourite characters. I know he gets a lot of not hate, but like a lot of people say he's overrated. But for me, if there was never a Boba Fett, there'd never be a Mandalorian show.
Oh, 100%. You think about where that character, the mystique around the character, from his days of, from Empire Strikes Back and then onwards. I think like the people have always craved it, and it created this whole Mandalorian culture thing.
That's how cool it is, though. Like he literally did nothing in the original trilogy, and he's still one of the most popular characters.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's like a credit to sort of the design work that went into him.
Oh yeah, he was like the coolest character ever. It's like him with
Yeah,
Darth Maul. If they could do the same thing they did with Darth Maul with Boba Fett, because Darth Maul in Phantom Menace is very one note. He looks cool. He's just like he flips around and that, and everyone's like, oh yeah, he's just a cool bad guy. And then obviously he comes back in Clone Wars, Rebels, and now he's one of the most complex, well-written characters in all of Star Wars. Darth Maul. And now if they can do that, if Dave Filoni can do that for Boba Fett, then I think there's a lot of potential for him to actually do some stuff and get rid of that overrated tag he seems to have with some fans.
yeah,
Don't get me wrong as well. I can see why some people would think he's overrated as well, because obviously he doesn't do a lot. He is just a cool guy in a suit. I did like his stuff in the Clone Wars when he was younger and that. But yeah, I've always loved the character. I loved it. I loved seeing his dad in Attack of the Clones. I love the fact he's a carbon copy of his dad, literally being a clone. And I can't wait to see what happens with him next, because I think that eventually we're gearing up for Din Djarin versus Boba Fett.
yeah. I mean, I've got a few thoughts on that. So, obviously, Boba, he has watching. He's certainly going to be tracking the Mandalorian, I think, because he wants that armor back.
Does he though?
For me,
Does he though? We don't know this. This is the thing. I don't know whether they'll pull it out of left field and maybe him being in the Sarlacc pitch changed him. He doesn't want that life anymore. But obviously, he wants something, because he wouldn't be there, would he? He would have. And plus, this is 5 years. I think they've never explicitly said what the exact timeline is, but roughly it's about 5 years after Return of the Jedi. So what's he been doing for 5 years?
So this is what I'm thinking. If he's been out, maybe he's been out of Sarlacc for a while, I'm assuming, and he's just been like slumming it. He obviously hasn't made a move on Cobb Vanth quickly. So whether he's been buying his time for the perfect opportunity, or maybe like you just said, he's not too bothered. But either way, obviously I mentioned earlier in the episode that how the Mando was very sheltered and doesn't know much about things, and particularly the Jedi.
Yeah.
So he's going about, I've heard from these songs from eons past about the Jedi.
Yeah.
If he meets with Boba Fett, as we know from the Clone Wars, Boba understands the Jedi because he hates him because he killed his dad.
Yeah.
And then Boba also, 5 years before this episode, had a battle with the last Jedi, Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
So he could, if Boba meets up with Mandalorian later on this season and they have a conversation, Boba could be the one who tells Mando where the Jedi are.
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, if they're not just going to... Like, everyone expects Boba just to come back and be a villain. And I wonder if they're going to flip it on his head and say, oh, no, actually, he's done with that life now. He doesn't want that life anymore. I can see him going the other way as well and just being straight up villain, and he might be the one who captures the child.
Well, how about this? How about, because he's obviously a very complex guy and he's very clever and very skilled, I've just had this idea. Let's just say Mando and Boba meet up. Boba's like, oh yeah, I know about the Jedi. I can, Luke Skywalker, I just fought him at Jabba's palace. I'll help you find him because that's who you dropped the child off for. But what he's secretly doing is using the Mando to help him find Skywalker and then trying to get his revenge.
So do you think we could see Luke Skywalker?
Possibly.
It'd be recast, I would have thought. I don't know, maybe the way they de-aged Mark Hamill in... I know he said he was done with the character, but the way they de-aged him in The Rise of Skywalker, it looked incredible.
Yeah, I mean, that was in certain lighting
as
well.
Obviously, yeah.
So it's like...
There's a lot of smoke and mirrors with it.
Yeah. Which is cool. I love smoke and
Oh,
mirrors.
yeah, 100%.
But I think, I don't know, I think like... I mean, maybe if they'll even do it this season, maybe if like the end of the season is Boba saying, oh, I can help you find the Jedi.
Yeah.
And then when they try to find him, Boba's obviously going to double cut. He's playing a double agent.
Yeah, I just think there's going to be something different with him. I don't think it's going to be the same most notorious bounty hunter in the world, in the galaxy, and all that type of thing. I think they'll do something clever with him. I do think eventually he'll turn. I think he'll be the one who captures the child. I think like season 2, I don't think it'll end like he did with season 1. I think the season 2 could end with like the child being captured, and that, or maybe I'm not sure, but I 100% believe that. I think the next episode will still be on Tatooine, because you didn't see him leave. You see him on his way back towards Mos Eisley. I wonder if we get the confrontation next week or this Friday coming.
Yeah, because the episode ends with Boba Fett staring at the twin suns, I think. Am I correct?
Yeah, and then he walks away, yeah.
So possibly. I mean, I've got a feeling that we might not see Boba again for a few episodes.
Do you not think?
Possibly. I could be wrong, but I think maybe they'll like let that simmer, show us some other stuff, and then Boba's going to come back with a bang.
I have one question as well. Where's Slave One?
Would be Jabba's palace.
That's what I thought. Yeah, because I said this last night on Twitter. I'm like, do you reckon he just left it parked in Jabba's palace and that's where it is? I'd love him to go back to Jabba's palace. I don't think it'll happen. Well, if the next episode, like Mando accidentally slips by Jabba's palace, that'd be so cool.
Well, how about this? I don't think it'll happen. But how about like an episode? Say maybe not the next one, but maybe the next one's like the Mando going wherever he's going to do, whatever he's doing, like a normal episode, and then the episode after is Boba Fett and what he does after this episode.
Yeah, because I do remember Jon Favreau saying the show is going to open up a lot more this season. It's a lot more complex. So I wonder if we'll spend time with other characters.
Yeah, so imagine if we get like the next episode's Mando where he goes, and then the episode after is Boba Fett and where he goes. Maybe he does go back to Jabba's palace and get Slave One.
And there was those rumours that they are developing a Boba Fett, because they've had 2 Boba Fett movies written before.
So I know obviously Josh Trank was working on a Boba Fett movie before he quit the project in 20. I think he quit in 2015.
Apparently they were ready to announce that at Star Wars Celebration one year. They got pulled like last minute. They were like, no.
It was mentioned like about it at the celebration that happened the year.
Yeah, I can't remember which year it was.
That the 2015 was the celebration the year
Force Awakens came out.
That Force Awakens came out in Anaheim.
Yeah.
And it was mentioned. It wasn't like here's a release date, it's in production, but the project was mentioned.
Yeah. So they've had 2. They've had 2 because they had another one as well.
So I don't know. I'm not familiar with the other one, but obviously Josh Trank was signed on. Josh Trank was producing and going to direct the movie. And then obviously after the problems he had with Fantastic Four and his problems he had working with their studio like Fox, for whatever reason, I think him and Lucasfilm met and decided not to go ahead with the project. I think he needed time out. I think maybe they were like, oh well, we've seen how you've worked, because obviously also working on that project, the Fox project of Fantastic Four was Simon Kinberg.
Yeah.
Who's obviously friends with Lucasfilm. So a lot of politics went down and stuff. And I mean, not to go into it, but like, I don't blame Josh Trank for Fantastic Four. I think the studio was silly with that one as well.
Oh, I've never watched it, and
So it was stuff like the movie's not good, but like they turned up to start the pre-production meeting. So that's like just before we went to production.
Yeah.
And then the Fox executives go, oh, by the way, these 5 key action sequences in your movie, we've cut them. The budget's like this to film them.
Yeah.
And Josh Trank was just like, well, they're in me script in there for the story.
Yeah.
What do you mean I can't do them? So like, it's like a lot of like
playing,
being told that a week before you start filming. Like, I really feel for Josh in that scenario, and like the way Fox handled that was like, in my opinion, pretty poorly.
Well, that was the last legs of the Fox Marvel projects. When not long after that, Disney soon acquired Fox.
Pretty much,
and they've got the Fantastic Four back and Deadpool and all that type of thing.
I mean, you could say that if that movie turns out differently, like maybe that merger doesn't happen. Like, it's a big what if, but it is a what if. So Josh Trank was on. I think like for whatever reason didn't work out. But
I'm sure I heard there was 2 like cancelled Boba Fett movies. Obviously, they had the bad result with Solo, because there was going to the Obi-Wan show was going to be a movie originally, and they were going to do the anthology thing like with Rogue One But I'm just looking now. The Insider. So, it's from 2018. James, earlier this year it was reported that Logan director James Mangold was in talks to direct a standalone Boba Fett film. But apparently...
Right, I remember that story now, yeah, but it was just a story. I think it was no like...
And then someone called EWS, he's verified on Twitter, but Kathleen Kennedy just confirmed to me that Boba Fett movie 100% dead, 100% focusing on The Mandalorian. So there you go. So yeah, there's been a James Mangold Boba Fett film that was in development, and there's also been obviously the Josh Trank one that's very much more well known. So they must have had ideas, because Boba Fett has literally had no exposure in the new canon. Like, he's had a couple of comic issues. I can't remember him being in a book. Obviously, there's been games. He's been a playable character in Battlefront, but that's different. That's just a multiplayer game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've obviously been keeping their cards very close to their chest of what they wanted to do with Boba Fett. Because let's be honest, love him or hate him, he's a merchandise machine, really, isn't he? I want the Boba Fett Black Series helmet, but I'm just waiting to see when it comes down in price, because they always do. Because they're still like 120 quid. So
I think I've seen them on. They've been reduced in certain places to like, where was it?
Food Planet.
Somewhere like 80 quid, maybe.
Ooh.
I'm not sure. I'll have a look.
I might have to run round before we get locked down.
Might not be the Boba Fett one. Maybe it was a different one, but there's definitely some of the Black Series helmets.
Yeah, I've got the Kylo Ren one, and eventually that got down to like 40 quid, and I bought it. So I'll wait.
Yeah. I think for me, obviously, what Chuck Wendig did in setting up the Boba Fett armor with Cobb Vanth, is now paying off. So for me, I think I'm glad they took the time.
Yeah.
They don't need to throw Boba on their faces. No. They've obviously crafted the story, taken the time, and now we're going to get him. And who knows what spins off into? Maybe it spins off into a movie.
Yeah.
Down the line, which would be fantastic. But it's great to have him back. I'm not his biggest fan, but I'm not his biggest. When I say that, I don't mean I don't like him. Yeah. I love Boba Fett. I think it was cool, but I've never really invested too much in him.
No, because like I said, I can completely understand the criticism where people are like, he doesn't do anything. Yeah. I can completely understand that. To me, when I was a kid, he just hit a nerve with me. I thought he is the coolest looking dude in Star Wars, and that's the whole appeal of him. I just think there's definitely a story to tell there that could make him a lot more not relatable, but a lot more sympathetic. Obviously, he's been through the wars here. Because look at the state of him at the end of the second episode, and I think it'll be so cool if we see Tamura put on the armor.
Oh, definitely. So yeah, just clarify what I was saying there. So I'm sort of like a Boba Fett. I didn't need a Boba Fett movie. I don't need a Boba Fett story.
No.
For me, I don't necessarily need any Star Wars story.
No.
In particular, but for Boba Fett, I thought it was cool. I liked them in Clone Wars, the way they fleshed out his younger character a little bit. It was cool.
Yeah.
But then other than that, it's whatever. And then then they delivered him here, and I'm all for it.
And it fits, cool. Like you said, it fits. Obviously with Cobb Vanth, they've done it the Cobb Vanth way, and there's a huge section of the fan base who was so excited to have him back, and he's honestly, I think they'll do wonders for him. Because people have said, "Oh, is this season going to be shoehorned?" Because obviously there's a lot of rumours about who might be in the show, and basically every person who's ever been in Star Wars could be in the show. And but I just don't think Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau will go, I tell you what, it doesn't really make sense, but we'll bring him in. I think every person that's going to appear in this season, let's be honest, I'm pretty sure it's nailed on. Ahsoka Tano is going to appear, Sabine Wren possibly, Bo-Katan and all that. I don't think they'd bring them in just to be like, here's Ahsoka Tano, here's Boba Fett. So I definitely think they've got 100% a legitimate reason for him to be in the show. And like I said, I think they'll do wonders for his character. I think they'll make him a lot more relatable. And then, like I said, there was the rumours of the Boba Fett Disney Plus series. When there was the rumours of the Dave Filoni. Did you see the rumours where it was going to be like a Dave Filoni universe and there was going to be a Thrawn show and a Boba Fett show and a Ahsoka show and obviously The Mandalorian, and eventually it'll all come together like an Avengers-style crossover type thing?
I just think
I don't know if that's true. There's a rumour going around, but
it's just getting too far ahead of ourselves. I think with that type of thing, like, that's like fantasy booking. Like,
Yeah,
like
100%.
I think whatever they do with Disney Plus, I think like they go to Dave Filoni to talk about it.
Yeah, I think that was the rumor that he was going to head up the Disney Plus
Yeah.
TV side of. Because let's
here's
be
what I'll
honest,
say about
he's
that.
the closest thing we'll ever get to George Lucas.
But the problem you have though is it's a double-edged sword. So if you make him that, then he cannot write and direct episodes. He will not have time.
Yeah, he'd be like the Kevin Feige, I suppose, of
So like
Disney Plus Star Wars.
So like, so I don't see it as quite like an executive role like that. I see it as like whatever they want to do. I think they go and speak to Dave.
Yeah.
And that doesn't. And I think listen to what he has to say and they respect what he has to say.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they're going to do what he says.
No,
but they listen.
But
they listen.
I think they
take on board. Yeah.
do listen to him because when obviously
and it makes sense too. Yeah.
When the Mandalorian gallery, and obviously he's the closest thing to George Lucas. He's basically George Lucas's Padawan. They say it all the time.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
and he understands Star Wars, and he's just like I think he's incredible. The way like Rebels and all that and Clone Wars. I'm glad he's getting his chance in live action, and obviously, like I said, and I think Jon Favreau obviously respects what he has to say because, like I said, Jon Favreau is obviously a massive fan of George Lucas, like everyone is, and this is the closest thing that's been made that resembles the old trilogy, the original trilogy, since the original trilogy. So yeah, I 100% believe that. Long way around. I 100% believe that they wouldn't bring Boba Fett in if it was just for, oh, this is cool. Like no, there's a reason he's here. There's a reason why they've waited to do it now.
Yeah, and it fits with like I said, I think they've had this plan from the outset because setting up the look for the Jedi and he's decided to find the Mandalorians first. And if you bump into people around the galaxy, like some people know about Boba, so they will go, oh yeah, that's that Mandalorian who's based out of Tatooine. So like it 100% all of it fits together perfectly. Yeah,
and it's a fake out because obviously the first Mandalorian, like he's looking for Mandalorians, he's not going to find a Bo-Katan, Sabine Wren in the first episode. He's not.
Well, yes, yeah, because you've got to remember, like obviously Mandalorian, being a Mandalorian now in this part of the story after the events of Return of the Jedi is a case of it's a creed.
Yeah,
being a Mandalorian. Before that, is it what would the term be?
Birthright? No,
it's not a birthright. It's not a species, but it's a what would the term be?
Religion?
It's not even a religion. Yeah. Like if you're born on Mandalore, you're a Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I'm an Englishman. I'm born in England. I'm an Englishman.
I could see that being a thing, because obviously Mandalorian space, to say in the Clone Wars, is a large area. But I could see like Mandalorians who were born on Mandalore look down on other Mandalorians who weren't born on Mandalore and being like, "Well, you're not a real Mandalorian," or that thing.
Well, I think the Creed thing is what they had to do after this Night of 1,000, whatever it's called.
Yeah. Obviously, after the Purge of Mandalore.
The Purge of Mandalore. So this Purge of Mandalore that happens, I think obviously get wiped out and have to run away. And that's when they start this Creed where it's like, oh, well, we've been chased out of lands, so in order to survive, we'll have to become these creeds now. But obviously, but they weren't always that, as we've seen.
Obviously, yeah, because with the helmet thing and that, obviously you've seen Mandalorians take helmets off for years. Sabine Wren, Pre-Vizsla takes his helmet off, for God's sake.
Yeah.
And he's Mr. Mandalore.
Yeah, so I think this Creed, in order to protect themselves, because they've been hurt that bad, or we need to do things we need to be extreme now, because otherwise the Empire are going to find her again, wipe out again.
Yeah.
So in order to survive, we've now got to do things to an extreme level.
Well, it's not even just the Empire, is it? It's just random factions because even the gangster John Leguizamo's character even says the price of Beskar continues to rise. So there's not just going to be the Empire who's after it. It's going to be all sorts of bloody scum and villainy who will be after Mandalorians. That's why they said in season 1 that they all live underground and only emerge one at a time to hide their numbers.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, and they never take the mask off in public, which means nobody ever knows what they look like or what they're called. So it's like,
yeah.
I mean, the Mando doesn't tell anybody's name ever.
No.
You only learn his name because Moff Gideon knows the Mandalorian records because after I think he ransacked the place. like in a Hitler style attack.
Plus,
on it, couldn't
plus he was ISB, wasn't he? Which is Imperial Security Bureau, which is basically spies and all that type of thing. And
yeah,
that's what
and I think
Colonel Yularen is head of.
yeah,
and
I honestly think he went into Mandalore and ransacked the place, and then like stole all the records and studied them all after he's wiped them out.
because he knew who he was straight away when he was like, oh, Mandalorian decommissioned Mandalorian hunter Din Djarin. He obviously knows all about bloody Cara Dune and Grief Karga and all that.
Yeah,
So he's getting his information from somewhere. So he must have a massive database of all these people.
definitely. So I mean, talking about Moff Gideon and Cara Dune and Grief Karga, obviously some notable absences from this episode. It was a very small cast. It was all new characters except for the child and for the Mandalorian and Amy Sedaris' character, Penny Motto.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll get more of them in the coming episodes?
What, the characters we saw in this episode? I think we'll...
the characters from season 1.
I'm not sure. I'm still convinced that this episode 2 might still be on Tatooine. So I think it might be a case of a small. But yeah, I'm not sure. I think we'll get Cara. I think we'll get the original like Cara Dune Grief Karga. I think we'll get them in the first half of the season. I think they'll probably be around for the ending as well. But I think they'll assemble a bigger team because obviously something. I don't think we've seen anything like all this stuff in the trailers. I think that might be from the first couple of episodes because there was none of this. There was none of the stuff in this in the trailer. Like we saw the odd shot of Tatooine where he's on his speeder bike and that, but that's nothing. And I think we had this stuff we haven't seen. We obviously seen a bit of the water planet that's come in, a bit of the ice planet, but I just don't think we've seen anything yet. I don't think we're prepared for what we're about to say, to be honest. If this was the first episode, you were like, bloody hell. Like,
yeah, I mean, as the first episode, this has blown my mind, like, of how awesome it was. It's, like I said, as I agree with yourself, it is my favourite episode of The Mandalorian so far.
If you just break it down and think we've seen a Mandalorian and a guy wearing Boba Fett's armour fight a crate dragon with an army of Tusken Raiders, you'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Sorry, man, that's just my dog barking.
It's all right. Dogs are welcome on the podcast anytime. We are a dog-friendly podcast. We've talked about the episode. We've been on it quite a while now. I think, what were your favourite things about the episode overall?
The Boba Fett reveal at the end, just for my head exploding. The Cobb Vanth, because like I said, I've been championing Cobb Vanth. I've looked today and I think I've found tweets from years ago where I'm like, I'd love to see Cobb Vanth on screen one day or something, just to see what happens. The fight with the crate dragon's incredible. And just like, sometimes like things have been levied at people, like obviously Rise of Skywalker and that they don't really care about the stuff around the movies, obviously the books, the novels, the comics, but the amount of details and Easter eggs in these episodes, you're a massive fan who's gone back and gone, oh, this will be cool. And obviously they have the story group there and Pablo Hidalgo and all that. I'm pretty sure they get brought in and saying, oh, there's an Easter egg here, that'll be really cool. Obviously, I don't think they have any say in the show, they don't, but I'm pretty sure, like, obviously Dave and Pablo are, like, best mates. And
I think
I'm pretty sure Pablo would say to him, well, like, if you're going to do this in the show, like, it'd be cool, like, a cool nod for this.
Yeah, I think it's a case of, like, utilising the story group.
Yeah.
And they've obviously utilised the story group for this project, which is awesome to see because it's worked out in such a positive way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, like, this episode just obviously not what to expect coming into season 2, and it's like straight away the Cobb Vanth thing, Boba Fett, the crate dragon, everything you just said, just absolutely fantastic. And sort of setting up the way like Boba Fett's back. And where's he going to go? We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know hardly anything about it. Still the man of mystery. As he was in Empire Strikes Back, he's still the man of mystery now.
Just stripped back to the absolute bare bones now. Obviously, he hasn't got his armour.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see where we're next seeing.
Do you think he'll get his armour back? I think he will.
I think so, yeah.
I think he'll get it back. I think we'll see Tamura in the full-on suit of armour, which I think will be so cool. And like I said, if they're leaning towards a Boba Fett show, maybe it'll be pre-Mandalorian to see how he gets out the Sarlacc pit, or maybe it'll be post-Mandalorian. And then
I think it'll be post.
Yeah.
I think you'll see him. I think maybe his last scene in Mandalorian will be him getting the armor back,
then,
walking out the door with the armor on, and then his show starts. Where does he go from here?
Does he go after Han Solo?
Or does he just start a new life?
Yeah, maybe. But I could see him being like the vengeful type, and he hates Han Solo as well. So I could see him maybe they get Alden Ehrenreich back to play Han. I know it'd be a bit confusing because obviously this time around it's Harrison Ford, but I think you can get round it and say, look, it's a recasted Han Solo. Or maybe he goes after Luke Skywalker. Like you said, maybe he just goes back to bounty hunting, or maybe he does something completely different. But I can see him wanting that.
Camino.
Yeah, maybe. We don't even know what the status of Camino is now. We don't know what happened to that post Revenge of the Sith and that. Because I remember reading Pirate's Price, which is like a Hondo Anaka book, which is set between Last Jedi and thing. And there's a Kaminoan in that, and even Hondo says you don't see many Kaminoans now. They're very rare, so I wonder if the Empire did the same thing they did to Geonosis.
Well, I've always said I thought they'd mass genocide the planet just to wipe it out from discussion.
Just because obviously they know all about the Sith grand plan. And obviously they wouldn't want that turning against them one day.
Definitely not, mate. Definitely not.
But other than that, mate, that's my favourite parts of the episode.
Awesome. Obviously, Chapter 10, which will be Episode 2 of Season 2, is next week on the 6th of November, Friday. What are your hopes for the coming episode?
Boba Fett. Probably, yeah. I'm not sure. Like, I trust them completely now. Like I said, I'll never, ever think that they would just do an episode of filler. There's always going to be something. Like, there's main one for that, but like Filoni's Rebels with the Purrgil, everyone was just like, what is this? This is just filler. And then eventually they were the main part of the finale of Rebels. So there's always something going on. There's always something. The odd reference here, the odd thing there, it always comes back in a way. So I remember a shot in the trailer where it looks like I haven't seen this shot in this episode and he's still on Tatooine. So I wonder if we get the confrontation between them next thing, and maybe it's just a case of Mando fights Boba Fett off or something like that and he gets away. I don't think they bring Boba Fett back to like be in the next episode and then Mando kills him. I don't think they do that.
No.
So
I don't think so either.
No, so I could see them maybe having a confrontation. Maybe it's not, maybe it's different. Maybe he's like, look, this is my father's armor. And I can still see Mando being like, well, you're not a Mandalorian. And then maybe they have a confrontation. But I eventually think we'll see him get his armor back. And like I said, and then he'll go off. And then eventually it might be like a reoccurring thing. Because eventually I think 100% we're going to see the classic bounty hunters eventually come after the child. I think we'll see Dengar. I think we'll see Bosk. I think we'll see Zuckuss and Forlom. I think there's a chance we see Cad Bane eventually, which I would lose my mind if we saw Cad Bane because I love that character.
Do you think they'll bring like Embo in?
Embo would be cool, yeah. He's in the Aftermath trilogy, isn't he? Yeah, Embo and Dengar are. And the sad thing about Embo is his dog's died at this point.
Yes, one of my favourite parts of Clone Wars.
Morok. Yeah, he's dead at this point, which is sad because I like the dog. He's quite cool. But
yeah, Embo was a great character from Clone Wars where he has the hat that he uses as like a slave.
Yeah.
And then he also has the dog that helps him hunt. It's his best friend. So quite like a cool bounty hunter character I've not seen before. So I loved Embo. It was one of my favourites from the Clone Wars series.
But like I say, we'll have to. I think we'll eventually see some OT bounty hunters. I think Jon Favreau would love to bring Bosk in. I think we'll see Bosk 100% eventually. And
well, we've seen Trandoshans this season. Sorry, this series. So who's
all you got to do is slap like a yellow and white flight suit on him and say, "Oh, it's Bosk."
Definitely. I think that wraps up us talking about the episode. Unless you've got anything else to add, Ian.
No, I'm happy, mate. I can't wait for Friday. It's nice at the moment, obviously, with all the stuff going on in the UK and obviously us going back into lockdown. It's nice to have something to look forward to.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, for those who don't know and for those who aren't in the UK, it's been announced this weekend that obviously the UK is going back into a national lockdown, which is not the best thing, but it does mean that we have got Star Wars here to keep us going, new Star Wars. The first lockdown we had Clone Wars, the final season going on, which was a big help. And then obviously going lockdown again, we've now got new Mandalorian to keep us going. So Star Wars is there to keep us going, which is what it always has been for me.
Yeah.
which is great. Just to wrap up some of our things before we finish off. Just on JediNews.com, having a look at some of the news that's been breaking this week. Not really much news type stuff, but the HasLab Razor Crest.
Yeah.
So obviously this is you can buy it from Hasbro Pulse, I believe. If you're in the UK or Europe, you can pre-order at Zavvi. But that's just, it's got 2 more tiers opened up.
How much is it?
How much is the Razor Crest? Let's have a look.
think it's like 400, 500 quid, mate, to be fair.
Every time it is. Every time I look at it, I like getting more and more tempted.
Because they did Jabba's sail barge as well, didn't they?
Yeah, so the Jabba Sail Barge obviously a big success. They hit the amount of subscribers they needed to get that made.
Which is a good idea. I think that's a good idea because you don't want to make this thing that costs a fortune. Everyone be like, no.
Yeah. So it's on Zavvi. It's priced at £490.99.
Yeah, I can't justify that. Not when my new Xbox comes next week. I can't justify that.
Yeah. And so just let you know, you can still buy this. So if you're in the UK and Europe, you'll go to Zavvi.com and buy it. What happens is the more backers it gets, the more free things come with it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you need to reach 6,000 backers by November 9th, but it's already well past that. So now it's like add-ons. So it's already got the escape pod. It's already got the carbon freezing bay and the four bounties in carbon freeze. It's already got the child, which comes in a backed card for the vintage collection. And then they've just announced the next ones is a Jawa with the Suga egg with the vintage collection as well. So if you're looking to spend £400 on something that looks awesome, because it does look awesome, I would 100% maybe get yourself out of Zavvi and buy that.
Plus we've got Mando Monday tomorrow. See what they reveal.
Yeah, obviously Mando Monday is going on. Every Monday they're dropping new merch.
I'd have to believe there's some Boba Fett merch coming on Monday. It's got to be.
I would like to think so, mate. So Diamond Collectibles have released I think it's like a 7-inch figure. And they've released 2 in the Star Wars line so far. And it's the first one's Boba Fett and Darth Maul.
Well, there you go. Can't go wrong with them, can you?
And that's available in Disney stores now because I've seen it today. Other news from JediNews.com is that Warwick Davis and Ron Howard are returning to Disney Plus for Willow. And John M. Chu is directing that. I've only seen Willow once, I think. I'll probably need to rewatch it before I get involved in talking about that. Yeah. But cool to see that more Lucasfilm projects are coming to Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping to God that we get some Indiana Jones content for there.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I don't know what the rule. I don't know why the reason, because they're Lucasfilm, aren't they? I don't know why they're not on Disney Plus. I've probably led to believe it's something to do with a contract they've got with the rights for someone. But eventually, I can see the Indiana Joneses making their way to Disney Plus. Yeah,
so I think the issue is obviously like Lucasfilm produced. It's a Lucasfilm production, but the distribution was put out by Paramount Pictures.
That'll be it then, yeah.
Because obviously at the time Lucasfilm didn't have a distribution arm, where now Disney owns Lucasfilm. It has its own distribution arm. And I think there's a big deal where, like, I'm sure Indiana Jones, especially in America, they air on like Turner Classics.
Yeah.
And that's where they are at the minute. And God knows how long those rights are, because I know Ted Turner loves the rights to movies. Like Turner Classics is like
Who made Back to the Future?
Who directed?
No, who made it? What studio?
So was that?
For some reason I thought it was Fox, but it's not, is it?
No. So it's an Amblin production.
Yeah,
and it was released, and it was released through Universal Pictures.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. I was just wondering if that was Fox. I thought, that'd be cool to come to Disney Plus as well, but it's not.
No, Universal Pictures. That one was released through. So.
Give it time. Disney will eventually own them. Give it time.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, Disney were offered Back to the Future back in the day.
Were they? Oh.
Yeah, and they turned it down because they didn't like the story between Marty and his younger mum.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. Yeah.
Which, when you think about 1985 and the image of the company,
yeah,
you can probably see why. But yeah, so yeah, I think they were offered it. I believe, unless that's an old wives' tale, I've been told.
Probably true, mate. To be fair.
Yeah, definitely. But I think that wraps it up. As I said, this has been too much to talk about. Other than the Mandalorian episode that we have just talked about. like I said, the next episode is airing on the 6th of November, so get your Disney Plus subscription in if you haven't already, because I think this series is worth the subscription price alone.
100%.
I honestly do. Absolutely. Ian, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Like I said, we'll miss when the Canon Junkie's not available. We'll struggle with some of the finer details of Canon, which obviously you've been brilliant with today, mate. So thank you very much for coming on. Obviously, I know. Obviously, we both work full time, so it's difficult to get together all the time. But in an ideal world, would be together every episode.
To be fair, mate, going back on lockdown, probably have a bit more time.
Possibly, yeah. The one positive.
Yeah, we can talk a bit more Star Wars.
Definitely. But where can the people find you on social media?
I am on Twitter, just all lowercase at Star Wars Ian, and that's where they can find me.
Awesome. Any parting thoughts about Mandalorian, Star Wars, Newcastle United? Anything you want?
Great win today. Can't wait for Friday, and I love Star Wars, basically. That's it.
Awesome. And I love Star Wars too. And if you guys are listening, I'm assuming you love Star Wars. So that brings. Please follow us on Twitter at BorsStar. That's at BORESSTAR. And on Instagram and Facebook at Star Wars Podcast. You can also reach us on email at starwarspodcast@gmail.com. The Star Wars Show can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, and wherever podcasts can be found. Please give us a like, subscribe, and don't forget to leave a 5-star review. May the Force be with you.